Oh wait, hold on. I gotta check. Is my mic on? Okay, yeah, my mic's on. Okay. Hello guys and gals, I'm SSJ Raikou, and in today's video, I'll be talking about the game Schneil Story Love Edition. But unlike my other video essays, this video is purely theoretical and not opinionated. At least, not very opinionated anyways. As you can tell in the title of the theory, I'm going to be talking about the governor of Shelltown. You see, something I noticed in my last video is that I had mentioned that as a snail person, it is punishable by death to try and leave Shelltown. So in today's video, I'm going to be making the claim that Dr. Schneil isn't actually a good guy, but rather someone a little more sinister. And the question of this video: is Dr. Schneil actually the villain for the full game in the future? So without further ado, let's get right into it. So first off, just going to forewarn y'all, since the demo is somewhat short, we have a very limited amount of evidence. However, that doesn't stop me from explaining this theory and getting proper evidence. So, for starters, we first meet Dr. Schneil as the governor of Shelltown, and he talks a lot about graduating high school students, and he says something that really caught my attention. You see, he says in his speech, "Remember, all citizens of Shelltown must be useful and effective. We don't wish to be too slow and looked down upon by humans, wouldn't you agree?" But notice how he says, you must be useful and effective. He doesn't say, I hope, or anything like that. He says it's a guarantee that you must be useful, which is odd because for a good person, he certainly gives me a vibe that just doesn't sit right with me. Now, we're going to have to go really far into the game in order for me to explain why this section is called the death sentence. You see, Clarissa's visit at Miss Escargot's place, she says, quote, "We're not supposed to leave Shelltown. We're surrounded by the oceans and we're not allowed to board the boats. If my father finds out you're leaving, he'll throw you into the salt waters and you'll melt." Wait a second. He'll do what? If this claim she makes is actually correct, this would mean leaving Shelltown is not only illegal, but also punishable by death. Which is odd since Bella Escargot says earlier in the game, quote, "Most people agree that he's a fine leader, ruling with both fine judgment and love. This man has enough charisma to make us snail people both cower and warm in our shells." But here's the thing. If he rules with fine judgment, why would he make such a drastic law? Unless he isn't what he seems. Now let me remind you, Shelltown is an island, so it could be regarded as its own country, depending on how you see it. And if we assume it's a country, that would mean Dr. Schneil is the leader of it. Now let me ask you, what country do you know of in real life that kills off its citizens for trying to leave the country? Well, if you thought of North Korea, you and I are on the same page. Now, I know it may seem harsh to compare Shelltown to North Korea. However, what other country kills their citizens for trying to leave? The question is, why would he do that? Why would he kill his innocent citizens for trying to leave? Doesn't he have fine judgment? Well, a law like that would make him seem like he doesn't have fine judgment. Now, another thing is that later in the game, he meets with Bella Escargot, who gets really nervous. Now, he doesn't say anything bad. In fact, he actually says she's a good worker. And that's the end of this section. Now, here's the thing. Something odd I noticed is that if he really doesn't want shell folk to interact with humans, why does he keep a certain surgery? That's right, folks. I'm referring to the shell-to-leg transplant surgery. Now, in my previous video about this game, I had asked a few questions about it, but after some brainstorming, I figured out what this surgery could possibly be. You see, the shell-to-leg transplant surgery is mentioned by Bella Escargot as a solution to surviving in salt water. Now, my theory suggests that in this surgery, she will be cut in half, then stitched to a human torso. But here's the problem. You see, I was told by the creator of the game that snail people are 110 to 120 centimeters. If that's the case, the human torso would have to be really small. Then where exactly would they get human torsos this small when there are absolutely no humans at all on the island? Unless humans did try to visit, but were killed when they did. Which may seem a little crazy, but how else would you have parts for that surgery? Now, you could say they won't use real human parts, but instead use prosthetics to complete the surgery. And while, yes, this isn't out of the realm of possibility, it still doesn't mean it's right. But here's the thing. When Bella uses this as her solution, it makes me wonder, is all of her body weak to salt? Or is only the snail half weak to it? Now, another thing is that later in the demo, Bobby says that snail people have gone missing and says that those numbers are nothing but a lie the chief wants to keep secret, and that 5 have gone missing in just 1 week. Then he mentions a snail named Mary, which would add up to a total of 6 missing. Wait, 6 missing in 1 week? Don't you find that odd? Well, my theory suggests that if they are, then the killer is right in front of our eyes. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm accusing Dr. Schneil as the killer here, which may not seem right because I have no evidence to prove any of this. But still, as a hypothetical, to me, it sounds somewhat right. So why would the police chief lie about missing snail numbers? Unless he's in on it too. What if he is working for Dr. Schneil to lie and keep them a secret? Now, Bobby mentions that Miss Escargot's parents may have something to do with it. Bella mentions that psychologists have tried to get her to talk about her parents, but that there's a mental block caused by her trauma. Then Bobby shows Miss Escargot a video that shows one of her parents talking about a huge plot that's going on with the outsiders and that Shelltown must not be trusted. When suddenly, a huge crash in the video happens and the person that explains that they don't have much time. But the evidence is right in their home, in their lab, which means my suspicion about Dr. Schneil being the villain might actually be true. I mean, think about it. He makes it illegal and a death sentence to leave Shelltown. The police chief is lying about missing snail numbers, and Bobby finds a video of Miss Escargot's father explaining that there's a huge plot going on. If my theory is correct, Shelltown is in big trouble. You see, Dr. Schneil says in the beginning of the game in his speech, "We don't wish to be too slow and looked down upon by humans. Wouldn't you agree?" Notice that he said looked down upon by humans. That's odd because Miss Escargot's father in the video that Bobby plays says the outsiders are involved in a big plot. So if he means humans when it comes to outsiders, this would mean that the government of Shelltown and the human government are plotting something. But what? Well, considering Dr. Schneil is the leader of Shelltown and seems to wish to not be looked down upon by humans, my theory suggests that he is going to enforce the shell-to-leg transplant and make it mandatory, turning every snail person human. He's trying to make them human, but some people caught him in his plot, so he had to kill them, and the police chief knows this, but Dr. Schneil bribed him into saying nothing and keeping it a secret. Now, when I suggest that he's trying to make snail people fully human, I mean that he's trying to create the ultimate race, which sounds a lot familiar, doesn't it? It sounds like none other than the iconic German dictator Adolf Hitler, who wanted to bring back the Aryan race because he thought they were perfect, and so if Dr. Schneil has the same belief that humanity is perfect and wants to get rid of flawed human counterparts, that would mean he's going to mandate this surgery and cause snail people to no longer exist. Now, another thing that could go with this is that Miss Escargot's amnesia could be caused by a CIA-type organization in Shelltown in order to ensure that the truth doesn't get out. And that's all for my theory. Now, before you call me crazy, just a reminder that this is my first theory video and that I'm new to the game theory type videos. So, anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.